What is up, everybody? Welcome to another live Pin to Gas podcast, and this is a special one. It is my birthday today. Yes, let's go. A couple of my buddies, Donovan, were like, you really want a podcast on your birthday? I was like, absolutely I do, right? Yeah, this is what we do. But listen, everybody, it's absolutely amazing to be sitting down again with my man, Donovan Fourie. I had him on when we first started the podcast, so it's been so excited to get him back on, man. So, Donovan, what is up?
First, I just want to say, wow. I mean, when we first started, the first time I came on this podcast was probably a year, maybe two. I don't even remember how long ago it was. And it was just sort of like everyone was trying to figure out what they're doing and what button do I push, me included. Now you've got this cool intro. You've got this, you got the logo up on the side. This is a pro production, my friend. Proper pro production. Well done to you guys.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. A lot of people don't realize, Donovan. I mean, you've been doing it too, so it takes a lot of work, right? It's like when you first start learning to ride a bike, and then all of a sudden, man, it is. But I appreciate it.
You get your knee down for the first time, and the world just makes sense.
Facts. That's 100% true statement right there, my friend. But yes, listen, I'm also for this podcast. It is brought to you by my friends at Bison. So if anybody's out there in the industry that is looking for a full custom suit, chest protector, undersuit, look no further than Bison. They have gloves. They are some of the most amazing people in the world. Donovan, have you ever heard of Bison?
I haven't, I must be honest, but it sounds, Bison sounds kind of big and strong and rah. It sounds like I could wear something that says Bison. It just goes straight into a war. It's like a tin of armor. That's what it sounds like.
They make custom leather suits for road racers, right? And Robert and Tasha that run it, they are some of the most amazing people that you will ever meet. And what's so special about them too, not only is their products simply amazing, but they're at every racetrack in America, and they even go to a lot of the track days in the CRMA and the CCS races, and they have on-track support. Even if you're not a Bison supported rider, and let's say you wear a 4SR, a Day and Easy, a Alpine Star, you get in a crash, you need something sewn, you can go straight up to Bison and they'll 100% take care of you. That speaks volumes of how good they are.
You guys in the States have this whacked, because I thought it was only MotoGP riders. You know, when a MotoGP rider, you see them take a fall, you think they throw those leathers away. No, their assistant takes them to the truck of whichever the leather manufacturer they're doing, and there it gets repaired. Whatever panels need repairing get done there. And I thought, wow, that's proper hardcore MotoGP professionalism. And there you guys are doing it at every track day. I'm jealous, quite frankly.
Dude, listen, they're absolutely amazing people. They really are. And I got a discount code for everybody. It's Pin to Gas 2024. You get 10% off everything at Bison. So listen, just go look them up. Even if you don't want a suit, they make jackets. It's full custom, any colors, any design you want. They are proper people. But yes, Donovan, my man, in South Africa, baby. Listen, now I'm in Roanoke, bro. It's raining here. It's cloudy. So it's kind of under the weather there. It's nighttime and it's proper hot, ain't it?
Yeah, we're a month away from the winter solstice here, so it's meant to be freezing. It's not. I mean, I did a bike trip on Thursday. We did about 400, 500 miles in the day. We went down to, there's a big show, some distance from here. And I mean, middle of the day, I had my summer jacket with like my winter, to get winter coat and you go over it. And I thought I'd need it. I didn't. I did the whole way there and back, including running back in the nighttime. And I was still in my summer jacket. It's like, what the hell is going on here? Bottom of Africa isn't that bad.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So yeah, dude, listen, we got a lot to talk about. There's been so much happening in the road race industry all across the world, right? And so are you obviously, you keep up with Moto America at all?
I keep an eye on it now and then. I mean, I've got to be honest. I'm doing so much at the moment that I wish I could follow absolutely everything. One thing I can say about Moto America is you guys know how to put on a show, if you know what I mean. I mean, instead of sticking to the traditional, well, here's a superbike, race it, you guys are baggers. You guys have all sorts of weird stuff and weird different things going on, and all of it is brilliant, and all of it should have been thought of by other people a long time ago. You guys are innovators. You know how to put on a show.
Yeah, dude, it's absolutely, it's one of the greatest shows on earth. They always say MotoGP is too, right? And it is in a sort of sense. But yeah, it's different because we're racing baggers, bro. Come on, man. We're racing Harley Davidsons and Indians with bags on them.
Do you know when I was younger, about 20 years ago, we had the Boxer Cup. It was that BMW 1100 boxes. You used to race those things, and they were big and they were heavy and they were not particularly fast, and they were brilliant. It was so much fun to race those things. There was no real kind of no real looking after the bike, if you know what I mean. It's like halfway through the year you wash it, maybe 8 months in you change the tires. You don't really need to train. And it was just such an absolute blast to race those things. And I'd love to give a bagger a go. Man, we don't have anything like that down here. But I mean, man, I would love to try and race one. I love that sort of weird, oddball kind of style of racing. And it's a show. I mean, you watch what those guys are doing on these things. I mean, the way they're in and the way they're cornered, the way it's not supposed to happen, but they're doing it. I wish I could give it a go. Man, that looks fun. Look, check here. By the way, I know I'm on an American podcast, so I'm wearing the only American shirt I can find. This is Harley Davidson 110 year.
I love it, dude. I love it.
I couldn't find it, so I quickly just put this one on. But yeah. Anyway, so this is my American shirt.
I love it, dude. It's beautiful, just like you, Donovan. Absolutely beautiful. And you're right. Harley Davidson, man, is like, dude, to see them in real life. I got buddies that Max Flinders, he races the Harley Davidson in the bagger class, and I talked to him in Jersey, and I was like, bro, like this is first time being really up close in the pits, like being right there. And dude, they got a lot of money in those bikes, every bit of $100,000. The swing arm alone is $40,000.
And I'm converting that to our currency, which is, it's a lot. It won't fit on a calculator.
Right, and but what it has done for Moto America, man, it's actually helped us grow big time, because now we got Indian and Harley people into the sport, and they get to meet the crotch rocket guys. Because over here in America, man, there for a long time it was crotch rockets and Harleys and Indians, where the riders didn't so get along with the crotch rocket riders, because we gave everybody a bad name because we're out there 150 miles an hour riding wheelies, doing all this crazy shit, right? But now, since they're into the sport and they meet them and they actually see it and they're there, man, it brings a whole new audience, right? And with that, it brings new sponsorship too. Yes, they are motorcycles, but it's different sponsorships for them than it is Kawasaki and Honda and Suzuki and all that, right? But yeah, it's definitely.
This is something that the Americans get right. It's about the show. And the rest of the world kind of loses track on that, and they're like, oh, technical this and that and this. No, it's about the show. It's about how much are the people watching it, the people partaking, how much are they going to enjoy it. And Americans are good at that. You look at all your other sports, the old NASCAR, baseball, football, all of it is a big show. And it's a big, huge flamboyant display, and there's fireworks, and there's this, and there's bands, and it's huge. It's a show. It's more than just whatever it is. I mean, your Super Bowl, you have that what's it called, the halftime show, whatever it's called. And I mean, it's not just about, oh, here's the sport, we're going to play a sport. No, we're going to get Beyonce to come sing something, and there's going to be a jet fighter, and there's going to be a man who's going to skydive from the space station, and then there's going to be a big fire, and then you know what I mean. It's a big show. It's more than just that. And I think the rest of the world's starting to cotton onto that. They're sort of starting to realize, hang on, these guys are doing something pretty good here, and it's getting better and better, and we're seeing more of that in the sort of international scene. Yeah, but you guys started it. Credit where credit's due. You guys started it.
Yeah, us crazy Americans, right? Yeah, we always go big, right? But you're right. It's the show that they put on. So the halftime show at the Super Bowl is actually one of the most watched shows there is in that time frame. I mean, it's crazy how many views, and when you get let's say a 10-second or 15-second slot on the Super Bowl, probably costs $5 million alone, right, just to get advertised. And you're right, it's the whole spectacle, the concert, the skydiving, bear wrestling, whatever we come up with, right? It's you never know what we're going to come up with, but yes, it is. Exactly. And I would love to see more. That's why. So I've been getting a lot of BSB riders on. I went to Cadwell Park, went over there and hung out with them guys, because I want to get more Americans also involved over there in BSB and BSB over here in America, because it helps everybody out, right? It really does. It helps our whole, what I call the most beautiful circus in the world. It's exactly what it is, right? So you get other people from different racing like BSB on here, then I turn my American fans on to BSB. So now they're interested and they start watching, right? And same thing, like I got a lot of BSB friends that want to come over here to America and race, right? So I'm trying to figure out how to make this happen, right?
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing, dude. The time we're living in right now, as far as racing goes, man, it's such a great time to be living.
But okay, well, I mean, what you say is good, because back in the day, if you wanted to watch a BSB race, you had to have British television. You know, you got to have a British television channel on your TV, or if you want an American racing, you got to have an American channel on your TV, or you got to hope like hell that whatever there's a channel in your country that shows MotoGP or whatever it is. But nowadays, I mean, it's all online. I mean, you can watch a BSB race live or watch later. You know, when the sun's up, or you know, we can watch an American race, we can watch Australian races, we can watch everything everywhere. And it's what a great time. And you're right. I mean, it is a time where we can all kind of come together. We can all watch different stuff. You don't need to stick to just what's available, because everything's available. Saying that, we're talking about, you know, people coming over there, people coming over here and all over that. Can you imagine a World Cup kind of bike racing, like circuit racing? I mean, we've got world championships, but can you imagine like a World Cup where it's like, okay, choose two guys from your country and they go to wherever, and you get two guys from every country, and you have a World Cup, and it's a country that wins. That would be a bit interesting, wouldn't it?
Dude, it reminds me of the old Translogic racing they had back when BSB and American racing would come together for that race. Dude, I've been saying that. Dude, I think it would be proper mega, as my mates say over there, right? It would be, it would help our sport tremendously. And I think it would give opportunities for us in Moto America to be like, hey, we want to get Tom Neve over here, right? And then BSB be like, hey, we want to get Jason Uribe over here, right? Or whatever. And it would be good for everybody across the board. Dude, that's something we need to work on, Donovan. How can we make this happen?
Get like an exchange program. You know, they got it in like schools and that way. Someone from like Germany comes over to America for a couple of months, you know, something like that. Where, okay, we'll send over one of our Moto America riders. You send over one of your BSB riders. You know, you do a bit of a switch, and then come on, it can happen.
That's a good idea, man. I'm writing this down because I'm gonna see what I can do. Dude, what a great idea, Donovan. Dude, that's absolutely. And listen, you've been super busy yourself, right? You've been with your TV series. So tell everybody what you've been going on with the TV and how can they watch it.
Well, okay, so we got a TV show called The Bike Show, which is nice and original. It's simple. Okay, it started off being shown here on national television. You know, again, our age-old story: turn on the TV, watch it here. In fact, it's shown all over Southern Africa. We also have a YouTube channel, The Bike Show. It doesn't show the whole show. I mean, we do a half-an-hour TV show once a week, 52 times a year. So it's a bit of work for that. The road tests and some of the more appealing bits and features we do, that's on our YouTube channel. So it's very simple. The Bike Show, similar to what you have. You have the show, just add a bike in there, The Bike Show. And that's basically what we do. It's sort of like, well, it's Top Gear with a lot of money.
It's amazing, and I personally say I watch it on YouTube, and I love it. The adventures you go on, and on your social media, man, you're always out there on these bikes, way out in the country, and it's so beautiful. I'm like, dude, I would love to come out there and ride with you guys for a week. So yeah, I would put that in the books, man. We should plan something for sure. In the next year or two, I would love to come out there and ride that, because I see it and I'm like, dude. So when you're out there and you see like real tigers and lions and stuff like that, does that make you nervous at all?
Tigers are from Asia, close enough. Although I do have a friend who actually, I do have a friend who actually has a sanctuary for lions and tigers and all that kind of stuff. It's called Jugamaro. Giving you a bit of a pun here. It's called Jugamaro. Go look up Jugamaro, and you'll see this guy. He also, his name's Justin Fernandez. He raced with me for many years, and he actually quit racing because they went to some park somewhere, and there was this tiger mother had birth to cubs and rejected this one little tiger. And every time the little tiger tried to come near, the mom would just swat it away. And they sort of said to the guy running the place, like, what's happening to that one? He's like, oh, not much we can do. It'll eventually die. And anyway, that's it. So they said, well, does it have to? I mean, can we take it? Which is a bit weird, because in South Africa, they have laws against South African animals. So lions and that sort of thing, you need a permit. whereas tigers are not. They're from overseas. So I can have a tiger in my backyard if I really wanted to. You know what I mean? So they were like, well, can we have that cub? I mean, they never done this before. And then I was like, all right, if you want it, here it is, take it. And they sort of just unknowingly sat in the car with this little baby tiger cub sitting on their lap, and they went home with that thing. And then they ended up they raised the thing here in Johannesburg, and it went to work with the dad. He had an auto shop, and it would walk around between this tiger, you know what I mean? And it became quite famous. And then all these other peoples with like lion cubs and tiger cubs and all these sort of things would phone them and be like, look, I got this lion cub, I got a problem, you know, and they ended up taking on more of them. And then eventually they started a whole park. And now this dude walks around with these, I mean, there must be 800-pound tigers and lions, and he walks in there with them, and he plays with them, and he puts his hands in their mouth, and it's ridiculous. And again, he quit racing. He was a pretty good racer. He quit racing, full-time look after these animals. So, and every now and again, it's a treat. I'll head out there and take a bike with me, you know, just to kind of like a farm bike or something. He lives out on a farm. I'll take a farm bike out there, something cool to play on for a while.
Dude, that's awesome. I couldn't imagine being around those. To me, they're beautiful, absolutely amazing creatures, and they're so beautiful. And to see, I've seen video. I forget the guy's name, where he's like a lion dog whisperer kind of guy, where he'll go out there and dude, they run up to him and they just play. And I'm like, all that tiger and lion's got to do is just bite down one good hard time, and that dude's done, right? That's it, lunch.
Yeah, it's true. But, you know, look, with those animals, the guys who are really dedicated like him, I mean, it's not something you do part-time. You know, you've got to be dedicated full-time with them. And if you do anything right, full-time with them, I mean, they're actually some of the cuddliest, playfuls, most loyal animals you can come across. But people get it wrong. They don't look after them properly. They don't feed them right. They don't spend enough time with them. And then, you know, it does go a bit wrong. So as I said, this guy quit everything, including bike racing, and he's there full-time. He never goes on holiday. He never does anything. They spend time. There's a few of them. There's that Richardson fella. Sorry, I forgot his full name. He actually, Valentino Rossi sent him a message once. He lives here in South Africa. And he also, same thing. I mean, he's a huge, big lion, and he'll go and sit and put his arms around it. And I mean, these things have a face this big. You know, compare my head to their faces. Are I'm trying to figure this out. This big, you know, these things are huge. You can literally fit your entire head in this thing's mouth with teeth that are like that long. You know what I mean? And he'll be there cuddling them and all that. And one day Valentino Rossi sent him a message going, "Hey, ciao, I like your videos. Very, very nice." And he actually ended up going over to a MotoGP race. This was 10 years ago or so. He was at a MotoGP race as Valentino Rossi's personal guest. This South African guy looking very kind of out of depth. You know what I mean? So no, it's very, very, very cool.
Yeah, that absolutely. I would love to see him and pet him, because I'm a big animal lover, man. Dogs, cats, all that. It's
listen, come to South Africa one day. We'll take you to meet this guy. You know, you can meet an actual lion, an actual tiger. It'll be fun.
It would be absolutely amazing. Yes, and I'll do it. I'm gonna take you up on that, dude. This is awesome, dude. Donovan, yes, your show is brilliant. The pictures on social media, again, when I see them, I'm like, dude, I wish I had somewhere like that to ride. It's just so beautiful, man. You see the landscape, and it's so wide open, and I couldn't imagine. I mean, you guys got there and ride for. You guys do day trips? Is that what you guys do?
Yeah, we do all sorts of stuff. I mean, look, where I live, I mean, there's some good riding, but I mean, you head further south down towards Cape Town, and it's some of the best riding in the world. And I mean, okay, whether this is a brag or not, I'm not sure. I mean, you know, you ride in the States, you ride in Europe, the police all over the place, and, you know, they give you a bit of a hard time. I mean, I've been on launches in the States where we ride a bunch of Europeans and South Africans. I mean, let's just say our road laws and our road manners are a bit more casual, if you know what I mean. And man, we got shat out. A proper state trooper stopped and shat us all out. And we're like, oh, sorry, we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to all ride in line and that. But even, I mean, you go to Australia, you go to Europe, and it's all quite a lot of laws. Whereas here in South Africa, there's cops, but it's not a big thing. So you can have a lot of fun on a motorcycle, and roads are relatively empty. I mean, a few of them aren't in the greatest shape, but there's some really great ones. Not a lot of traffic, not a lot of cops. You can have so much fun. It's very cool.
I bet, man. Yeah, out here you get caught speeding, they'll fucking take you to jail and impound your bike and all that bullshit, for real.
Well, you know, they arrested one of your golfers. yesterday. I don't know if you saw that, Scheffler or whatever his name is. I was like, what? This dude's trying to get into his PGA Tour, the Copperessa. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's again, us Americans, right? There we go. Yeah, it's yeah,
Put on
man,
a
it's
great show, but your police need to relax a little bit. Come now. It's just traffic. It's not that important.
I 110% agree. And over here, I don't know in South Africa where you are, but in here, like if you're 16 years old, you can go to a dealership and buy a brand new BMW 1000 SR for your first bike, right? Is that the same over there with you guys?
No, in this country, at 16, between 16 and 18, you can ride a 125cc, which was great back in the day. You had these two-stroke 125s, which was so cool, you know, and they like the Aprilia RS 125, the Kajiva Meter 125. The Japanese all made these little two-stroke, they're these little pocket rockets. They're a lot of fun. But nowadays, there's a million emission laws, a million noise laws, and all sorts of things. And I end up with a little 125 that goes pop, 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 and it's. Yeah, I fear we're not catching the imaginations of the youngsters like we used to.
Yeah.
And then when you're 18, go off buy an S1000 RR and have fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. So out here, and I don't agree with that law out here because that's why our insurance is so high, man. And let's be honest, does a 16-year-old really need a brand new 1000 that makes 220 horsepower at the back tire? I mean, out the street, really?
I'm going to tell you a little bit about my upbringing. So my dad was big into bikes. He got me into like biking media and all that. He had a bike magazine in this country. He ran for 42 years. And he was always kind of speeding and, all sorts of things. The law was sort of very optional to him. And anyway, so when I was around 12, 13, I got a little 50cc Suzuki and I used to start riding it to school. It's totally illegal. I mean, we weren't supposed to do that until at least 60. But I started when I was 12, 13. And my dad was cool because that means he didn't have to take me to work anymore. But the problem is when the police see, we get school uniforms here. So a policeman sees a school uniform riding a little motorbike, they pull you over immediately. And, hey, you're 12 years old. Off you go to the police station. And then annoyingly, my dad had to keep coming and fetch me, which was annoying to him. So what he thought of is, hang on a second, if you're riding on a little 50cc, the cop's going to pull you over. But if he rides my Harley to school, the cops will never think that it's a kid. So why doesn't he just ride my Harley to school? So there was me, 13 years old, going to junior school on this Harley Davidson Sportster, and I never got pulled over. In fact, once I walked out to the bike. I stopped at a store somewhere to pick up something, and I walked out, and there were policemen looking at my bike, and I had my helmet on that already. I was like, ooh. And they looked at me. I was like, hey, is this your bike? I was like, deep voice. Yes, it is. Oh, it's very cool. What motor is that? And they asked me all these questions about the bike and that. And eventually, okay, have a nice day. And they left. And I climbed on 13-year-old me and I rode home. I will say my headmaster in my school was less impressed when he walked out one day. 13-year-old me with the Harley Davidson. Hi, sir. Sorry, he phoned my dad. And my dad was like, yeah, but he keeps getting pulled over when he rides a smaller bike. That's why he's got a bigger bike. Makes sense.
Yeah. I love it, dude. What a story, man. I love. Yeah, just take this Sportster at 13. Go on, yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, then you don't get pulled over. Then he doesn't have to come fetch me from the police station all the time. It's brilliant. That's parenting 101.
That facts right now. If we did that shit today, bro, me and you going straight to jail, right? They're gonna be like, hold up, no way at all. Well, here in America, they would. They don't play that shit at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But yeah, man, listen, dude, the world of racing, we got so much to talk about racing. I don't even know where to begin because there's so much to talk about. Let's take it to MotoGP. We'll start there. Okay. Everybody, of course, the question, Marc Marquez, Ducati. So before the move started, I told everybody my personal opinion. Donovan was like, yeah, he's absolutely leaving HRC. It's a done deal. And to me, it wasn't what Marquez said. It was his body language and the energy that he put off is what made me was like, yeah, he's absolutely leaving, right? Because you could tell a lot from a rider on their body language and the way they carry themselves. Not so much what they say, their energy they put off. If you're good at reading that in between the lines, then you catch on fairly quick. But he's been really good, right? Everybody expected him to win. But he's not looking too shabby. And do you think he's going to win before the season's over?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mark. I mean, he could win next weekend in Catalonia for all we know. I'm very. I mean, there's a good chance. Although, okay, I was actually we were chatting before we went live. We were talking about kind of on social media. You know, you got all these different clans and these different groups and these different fans doing kind of different things. And but about 10 years ago or so, it was kind of nasty. You know, the comments people, the to and fro's people having been nasty. Nowadays, it's a lot more kind of ribbing. You know, it's a bit more lighthearted, a bit more fun. And I was always kind of more in the Rossi camp than the Marquez camp. And the latest ribbing I said was all these people saying, yeah, but look at Marquez. I mean, it's only, you know, he's just still getting used to the bike and he's already up there. And it's not a 24 model, it's a 23 model. So I put up a little thing saying, yeah, guys, you're right. Mark Marquez is only on his fifth race and on a slightly less competitive bike. Give him time. And after that, I put a photo of Rossi winning on the Yamaha in 2004 in his first race.
At Welcome, South Africa, April 18th. I'll never forget it, 2004.
I was there. I stood there. I witnessed it with my own eyes. It was, and that bike, I mean, okay, Marquez, okay, dude's doing well. I mean, well done. Okay, he's doing great things. That Yamaha that year, people don't quite realize how much of a pig that machine was. I mean, put it this way, Rossi won that race. The next Yamaha was 35 seconds back, and that was Carlos Checa, who's no slouch. The dude's fast. He was 35 seconds behind Rossi. That race was extraordinary. It was utterly extraordinary. It was an amazing thing. I mean, just what he did there. And it is like, it is the equivalent now if Marquez had climbed on this Gresini Ducati and won by the pit straight. That's the equivalency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Marquez is doing well. And look, the atmosphere, the kind of climate in MotoGP is a bit different. It's a bit more professional. You know, the margins are a little bit less. So, you know, we'll take all that into account also. But, you know, what Rossi did in 2004, when you especially look now at Marquez and what he's doing, it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. But no, Marquez is going to win. He's going to win sometime this year. I can't see him not winning. It's just, I mean, somebody has to go very wrong for him not win a race this year.
Yeah, you're right. And for those of you that haven't seen that, you need to go back on YouTube. 2004, April 18th. Welcome, South Africa. It is one of the most emotional races because I was so involved, right? And yeah, a lot of people don't know the Yamaha was a pig, and that was the time where it transitioned to where from carbureted to fuel injection on that bike. And at one time, didn't they have a test where they ran dual rear shocks at one point on that bike?
I'm not 100% sure of that. It wouldn't surprise me. I remember beginning of 2002 when those first Yamahas came out, there were Screamer motors with carburetors. Yeah. And I remember listening to them. They sounded so cool, but man, the bike was all over the place. You watch those poor riders trying to get the power down coming out of corners, and the thing was just this and that. I mean, it sounded cool and it looked cool, but the front wheel was up, the thing was spinning, the thing was all over. You see this poor rider just hanging on for dear life. They were tough to ride. Whereas Honda had that V5, you remember, with the V5 990cc. And that thing was just sublime. I mean, it was in another league compared to all the other bikes. I mean, you remember when they first started racing, the first race with the modern era, the 4-strokes, Japan was the first one. It was raining. Everyone fell off, and Rossi ended up winning. And then the second one was actually South Africa again. And there were the two Honda, the V5 Honda, which was Rossi and Taru Okawa. And they just disappeared. They were gone. The third bike was actually Caparossi. He was still on a 2-stroke 500, also Honda. So, I mean, that's how far ahead Honda was at that stage. And that was 2002, beginning of 2002. So 2004 wasn't that far away. You know, and Yamaha was still trying to – in fact, into 2003, if I remember this correctly, my memory's not like it used to be. But if I remember correctly, he actually left Yamaha to move to Honda. He did the opposite of Rossi because he was adamant that you could not win on a Yamaha. You had to be on Honda to win. Whereas Rossi went from Honda to Yamaha and first race beat him. I mean, that was a stake in Biaggi's heart. I'll tell you that much.
Bro, it absolutely destroyed Biaggi mentally and physically, man. Like, I would have been embarrassed to come in and take my helmet off for real. It's like, you're right. Everything you said is true because I remember it exactly the same way. Biaggi was complaining about the Yamaha, even though, dude, when Biaggi was the type of rider, though, like, Jorge Lorenzo sense, where he was just as smooth, and if one thing was out of place, mentally it destroyed him, right? But yes, I thought that was so funny when Rossi's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving Honda, going to Yamaha," and Biaggi's like, "Well, I'm a just destroy Rossi, right? Like this is a done deal," and absolutely not. I mean, absolutely not. And not only that, Rossi won 2004, 2005, 06. Hayden won the title. And then 07, when they come out with the 800 cc's, Ducati was like Honda in 2002 with the 800. They were just miles ahead of everybody as far as engine development went.
Yeah. I remember Stoner, the first race was at Qatar. They moved to 800. Stoner's Ducati was 20 kilometers an hour, which is what? It's about 13 miles an hour faster.
Yeah, 14, something like that. Yeah,
14 miles an hour faster than the next bike, which is, in racing terms, it's ridiculous. I remember Rossi would pass Stoner in the corners, pull a bit of a gap, and when they got that straight, that Ducati came past. I mean, that Rossi's Yamaha was standing still. That Ducati came past like nothing. I remember, there was one of my favorite, in fact, I'm pretty sure it's my favorite race, Laguna Seca 2008. I think you remember that, where it was Rossi versus Stoner. And remember, the Laguna Seca doesn't have much of a straight. The straight's not very long, and it's got a bit of a curve in the middle of it. And even then, Rossi would come out in front on that Yamaha, and that Ducati would just storm past. And Rossi just said no. He would not he knew the moment Stoner got a bit of a lead, he would pull a gap. So he just made sure that he stuffed that Yamaha up on the inside of that Ducati wherever he could. It was
brilliant.
It was glorious thing I've ever seen. And the way Stoner qualified, I mean, he was like half a second faster than anybody. You would just thought this is going to be a Stoner walkaway. And man, where Rossi pulled that out, I don't know. I don't know. It was I still think it's the greatest race I've ever seen in my life. There'd been more races with more overtaking, more players, but just everything that was at stake there, between these two rivals and everything that happened and the whole background to it. I'm getting slight goosebumps just thinking about it now. Oh, it was incredible.
Listen, I absolutely agree again with you. That's one of my favorite all-time races too, as well, because exactly what you said, the rivalry. Stoner, I think he was actually more than a half a second and ahead of everybody else that weekend. And just the way that Rossi just sure will just stayed in front of him, and dude, it pissed Stoner off so bad. I mean, he was so livid. And he actually crashed on the last lap, if I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't Stoner go down on the last lap?
It was towards the end of the race. I know that. And Stoner was leading. It wasn't like Rossi pushed him off or anything. Stoner was leading. And I think Rossi had just psyched him out so much. But just every time Rossi knew if Stoner got a bit of a lead for a while, he would pull a gap. And then that was it. Race is over. And Rossi just knew that, hey, he had to stuff that Yamaha up he could not let Stoner stay. He had to stuff the Yamaha up the inside. I mean, it wasn't dirty, but it was very aggressive. I mean, there was cases where Stoner was busy turning in, the next thing, Yamaha. You know what I mean? But it was what Rossi had to do. He didn't have a choice. It was that or just concede that, he's gonna come second. He's gonna come second. And no racer starts racing to try and come second or concede. They're there to win, and it's what Rossi had to do. He did it. Wow.
And it just shows, the legend that Rossi is, right? That willingness just to win it or bin it. I'm putting it all on the line. You are not winning today. Another thing, dude, that I loved about Rossi, that nobody in the history's ever done this before, at least that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's the only rider that I know that told another rider straight out to their face, you will never win another race as long as I'm racing. He said that to Sete Juvenile, right? That mind fuckery he did to destroy Juvenile. I mean, that's
you're completely right. I mean, Juvenile was just never the same. I mean, he did similar things to Biaggi, but what's so interesting about the sport is how it kind of evolved, not just on track, but the sort of mentality of the riders. Because he did that to a few riders, and then as you saw it go, he did it to Stone also, to a lesser extent Lorenzo. By the time he got to Marquez had seen all that before, and it didn't work. He knew exactly what was coming. He knew exactly how to counteract it. And and then after that, that sort of tricks Rossi used didn't work anymore. A similar stance, look at Marquez when he started out. I mean, he was the super aggressive rider. I mean, he will bash you off the track. He will. And that started freaking riders out, freaked other people out. You know what I mean? For a while. Now, I mean, we see like that at Jerez when we saw Bagnaia versus Marquez. Bagnaia he knew it coming and he wasn't standing for it. That tactic of Marquez being super aggressive, being super kind of intimidating, didn't work, and it doesn't work anymore. So, like when Rossi had to kind of adjust for Marquez is now having to adjust for these new riders. It doesn't work anymore.
It don't, and it's that's why I said before we started this, man, we're living in such a great era of road racing. We seen Valentino, the rise and fall of Rossi. We're seeing the rise and fall of Marquez. All these riders that were upcoming are now leaving, and the sport is getting more aggressive, and I love that. Right, we need that to a certain point as far as aggressiveness goes. But yes, it brings the show and it makes people involved. Like we want to see that. We want to see the emotions. One thing that I also love about Pedro is he's like, dude, we need rivalries again. Enough of this hugs and kisses and bullshit. We need to have rivalries in racing, right? And I think that's something I'm hoping he's going to bring to the sport, where he'll start talking shit, right? Because that's what we love. Let's just be honest. We want riders to talk shit like Rossi. You're never going to win another race. Now, imagine if Septe Juvenile won a race. Maybe would that have mentally messed with Rossi? We don't know. But the sheer balls it took to come out and say, Donovan Fourie, you are never going to win another race as long as I'm lining up, right? That's balls right there, and then back it up. It's like, holy shit, are you kidding me right now? And that whole I tell people, and I get, dude, Marc Marquez, Valentino Rossi, the rivalry, Jorge, all that, it's when you're fully emotionally involved with a rider, whether you're a Marquez or a Rossi fan, right? You can never say which one's better, which one's not. The eras were different. There's always somebody that's going to come along and push you even further and over that boundary. And as you get older, you get slower. It's just the way it is. It's facts. But even at the end of Rossi's career, he was still going faster than he's ever been on these racetracks. It was just the up and coming sharks, right? Had the blood in the water, and they just it is what it is, right? I think Marquez, I don't see Marquez at that point yet because, I mean, shit, he just finished second. I mean, he's doing everything he can, but with Pedro Acosta coming in, right? This is something I really want to talk about is Pedro Acosta, KTM, Brad Binder, Jack Miller. Everybody knows I'm a huge Brad Binder fan. Jack Miller fan. I love KTM. I got a bunch of KTM shirts and stickers and like hats. Dude, KTM to me, when they come in, I was like, yes, new blood. I love this. I love KTM, the brand, the Austria, the whole era of it, right? And then fast forward, we got Binder. Binder to me, besides Jorge Martin, Brad Binder has one of the most natural riding abilities out of MotoGP. What I mean by that is the way he rides the bike, what he gets out of the bike. He was one of the first ones to fully lock, sliding through the corners like the old school proper ways, even with the electronics on it, right? And watching that, Donovan, I'm like, his riding. So if you watch him, the way he approaches corners, his riding style and all that, it's different. Brad Binder's different. His brother's the same way. Brad and his brother, their riding styles are different. They're not the same at all. The way they approach corners, the way they brake, the way they body position, all that. But Baby Jeebus, as you know, everybody calls him around the world Baby Jeebus, right? He's here. Man, he's doing really. Yep. Big shout out to Tugs, Fredo, and Boris Moto PG podcast. Simply amazing, which I love them guys. They're so cool. But yeah, what do you think about Pedro and the whole rumor going around with Jack Miller and all that good stuff?
Okay, so just a quick one on where you started with Brad Binder. And this is something that's true not just of South Africans, but Australians, the Japanese, Americans. When you come from outside of Europe, it's tougher. You know what I mean? It's tougher to get into where it is. I mean, you look at Joe Roberts. I mean, now he's quick, but it took him a while. I mean, it's tough. I mean, if all those riders he's riding against were to move to the States against Joe Roberts there, it would have been tough for them. It would have been the other way around. Roberts would have been winning, and they would have been. That's just how it is. So the South Africans, Americans, Japanese, Australians, all those sort of people, they're tough. They have to be tough to get to where you are, to go to this weird continent where people speak funny languages, eat funny food, to have funny ways about doing things, weird tracks you don't know, weird ways of everything, weird customs, and to kind of prevail in that, you've got to be so tough, and that's one of the things about Binder, where we've seen him, he's gone through a little bit of a kind of a tough patch this year, and I think he's going to break out of that easily enough. I mean, each one had contributing factors. There were mitigating factors to everything. And I think, and speaking of which, the lock sideways, something Binder said to me once, I'm like, dude, how do you do that? How do you go so sideways like that and still kind of make the corner? He says, actually, when you see the bike go sideways, it means the bike's working well. I like the bike going sideways because when it goes sideways, it takes a bit of weight off the front. And that means I can brake harder. Like, wait, what? So when the back end is out sideways and he's full lock, he's braking harder if he was in a straight line.
Bye, Bubba.
Oh. That was cute.
Thank you. My mom's coming to pick up my boy. But anyway, yes, keep going, Donovan. Sideways.
One of the biggest problems Binder has when you hear him talk in his debriefs is he struggles with the front. The front always locking because he's a hard braker. And when the bike's always in line and he's braking hard, it overloads the front a lot. So there's a lot of times the front locking. And I mean, okay, when you and I hear the front locking, if our front wheel locks while we're riding, we crash. It's just, I'm sure everybody listening to this, unless you're a MotoGP rider, if your front wheel locks, you crash. That's just what happens. With Binder, it's like, damn, every time I go in a corner, my front wheel locks. And then, oh, man, it's such a nuisance. I'm like, what?
Right.
What? I wish the bike would go more sideways so I could then, it's just the world these people live in, the way they function. It's just, they're not normal. They use the word aliens. They must be. It's not normal. But moving across the whole Pedro thing. So one of the things that's kind of changed, and where Rossi was sort of caught at kind of the tail end of his era. I used to call it nowadays I call it the dad with toolbox era. So when a kid is pretty good, your dad, the dad sees his kid's pretty good. He's got a passion. Okay, let's save up, borrow some money from an uncle, mortgage the house, whatever, buy a race bike, and they go to the track and it's the kid with the bike and dad with the toolbox. And the dad gives whatever advice he can give, and he spanners the bike himself and all that kind of thing, and that's and a lot of it is just figuring out as we go along. Whereas in some of the other countries now, I mean, especially the European ones, when a kid is spotted, as being talented, they get picked up. And you've got all these different talent cups and talent coaches and talent everything that kind of pick them up. And dad is just a supporting act. He stands in the background and there's people who do all that stuff for them anymore. And they get all this rider coaching and all this proper professional advice, professional setup, professional dieting, professional training, and they are nurtured. And I'm sure, in the States, American football, when a youngster's found to be talented, they get picked up, you know what I mean? And there's a whole program for getting them, over into the big leagues. And Europe has a lot of that now, especially Spain. They've got a lot of that kind of thing. And that really is the reason you're seeing so many of these Spanish youngsters in there. The Rossi Academy, you see these Italian youngsters coming through, and a lot of it is nurturing. It needs a lot of that. And Spain is winning that by miles right now. But that is where we see talent like Pedro Acosta. I mean, the dude is clearly good. I mean, it's tough, you know what I mean? He's very good, but he also kind of had a bit more of a kind of red carpet trip into MotoGP, whereas like the likes of Joe Roberts and other youngsters, they find it tough. But that's nothing you can do about that. That's the way the world works. What I will say about Acosta is you were talking about body language, and the way you can look at the body of a rider while they're riding. It tells you a lot. And one of the things you can tell is when a rider is riding hard. So like when they're in qualifying or when they're trying to chase another rider down, you look at their body movements. They're a lot more exaggerated. They move fast on the bike. The bike is more erratic. It's more, you can tell they're trying. Whereas if another rider is sitting behind another rider, you can see they're a bit more relaxed. They're a bit more casual. Pedro Costa is always casual. Watch him ride. Doesn't matter whether he's doing morning warm-up, just getting a feel, or he's on a hot qualifying lap. Watch his body, the way he moves, the way he kind of works. he always looks the same. He's always got this very kind of casual look about him. And I will say Rossi and Lorenzo were quite similar to that. They not as exaggerated, whereas like Marquez, for example, you can tell when he's on a really hot lap, he is all over the show, and a lot of the other riders are the same. But Pedro Acosta, no, he's got such a kind of a smooth, look at his actual body, the bike will move around a little bit, but look at his actual body. He always looks like, again, whether he's on doing morning warm-up or, hardcore qualifying, his body has the same kind of fluid, easygoing motion. And that is a big thing for a rider, because most handling problems on a motorcycle are caused by the rider. The rider causes them. The rider upsets the bike. And when you've got this very relaxed, fluid motion, the bike tends to behave itself better. And you find that any sort of problems that the KTM might have happen less to Pedro Acosta than to some of the others. He always seems to be quite happy with the bike, where some of the other guys were like, well, I needed to work this out. Acosta, I mean, okay, experience might bring up more problems. Maybe he's still getting into it. But yeah, he does not have as many handling problems as some of the other riders. And that is something fascinating. And that's something I do think he learned. He got taught. That is something you kind of get taught. I mean, possibly he just doesn't naturally. But I do think the way he rides was very much a kind of taught thing. And it's something he picked up very well. It's something he does very well. And you will see he's going to have less handling problems than anybody else.
For sure, 110%. And it's like, I guess also with that, Pedro coming, you obviously you've watched the race, so you hear people talking in the paddock about, well, maybe Pedro's going to go to the factory KTM. Where's Miller going to go? Maybe to the gas, and what about Brad Binder? And I had this conversation with my buddy yesterday. I was like, dude, Brad Binder's not going nowhere. KTM is not getting rid of Brad Binder. He's going to stay in orange. Hands down. If anybody's leaving, and I hate to say it, it's going to be Miller. But I don't think Miller's going to leave KTM. I think he's going to take a Fernando Augusto seat, because I really think Fernando Augusto's, I hate to say it, is on his way out.
Yeah, that's the dude just hasn't. I don't want to say speak ill of him, but he just hasn't quite kind of blossomed, if you know what I mean. And he won Moto2, but he won Moto2 when sort of nobody else was quite there. You know what I mean? I think it was just after also the main riders had just kind of left, and he was there was a sort of void, and he kind of filled it. So I do see that, Augusta's not going to be there next year. I suspect they're going to move Pedro Acosta to the works team. And Miller, I believe his contract up for renewal anyway, so they can move him. Brad Binder next year has a contract with Red Bull KTM, not KTM, Red Bull KTM.
Yep.
So if they're gonna move him, Brad Binder, to the gas team, they're gonna have to do some serious lawyer work, because his contract very clearly states Red Bull KTM. And I don't think. Like there's all these talks about like Jorge Martin moving and all that. I can't look. The only way I think they could do that is they go to Pedro Acosta going, look, dude, you seem quite happy at gas. Mind staying there? You'll get all the support in that, and then put Martin in the Red Bull with Binder. But I can't see them moving Binder out of that team, to be replaced by somebody else. That is a bit far fetched, I think.
Yeah, it's absolutely not going to happen. There's no way. Brad Binder is, you're right, factory Red Bull KTM, not just KTM. So there's a lot that goes in. It's just like people saying Mark Marquez might go to KTM, right? And I'm like, or wherever. And I'm like, dude, but that's a Monster Energy back. Monster would love to have Mark Marquez on there, but there's so much that people don't realize that go on with contracts and behind the scenes and the way seats get moved around, right? And also it's like, this is how I explain it to people, and I'm gonna use Fernandez Augusto as a perfect example. So Lorenzo Della Porta, phenomenal in Moto2. I mean, in Moto3, goes to Moto2, absolutely nothing, right? So I believe that there are riders that are specifically talented on a Moto3 bike. When they go to Moto2, it's just not there. Same thing with Moto2 to MotoGP, it's just not there, right? So you got to have an overall package, and very few make it and make that transition, right? I mean, look at Raul. in Trackhouse Aprilia. Dude, honestly, I don't think Raul's got a good chance of staying in MotoGP much longer. Just to be honest with you, I'm not listen. When I say that, Donovan, I love them all. I'm a fan of all of them. I wish nothing bad of any of them, but it's like Taka Nakagami, bro. Why is he still in MotoGP? I mean, let's just be honest. You know how many more riders could have come up from Moto2 and filled that void in, and maybe Honda wouldn't be in the situation they're in right now.
Well, okay, the Taka Nakagami thing's simple. Honda's always had a Japanese rider. And until a better one comes along, Taka's got a seat, I suppose. I mean, it takes a lot for the Japanese to kind of, get rid of their Japanese riders. Just, I mean, to Honda's credit, well done to them, It just shows a lot of patriotism. Good for them.
It does.
Regarding some of the others, I mean, okay, Marc Marquez, people talk about his Red Bull sponsorship, but then again, he had a very close relationship with Repsol at the same time, and he snubbed that. So I think if Marquez got a good enough deal with anybody, he'll say he's going to go. I don't see, and there was a story about Pit Byra of KTM also said this. They don't see Marquez coming to KTM because what I think will happen is more the Ducati story. I think Jorge Martin is going to take Enea Bastianini's seats next to Pecco Bagnaia. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't think Ducati want to get rid of Martin. Not only is he talented, he's young, so there's a future there. They can have they've got a rider there for the next 10 years. Marquez, on the other hand, I mean, he's also very good, lots of marketable qualities there. But here, one big high side and another broken bone, he could be out for good. So there's more questions with Marquez, right now. What I think we will see is, so this is my prediction, could be completely wrong. Let's see. I don't know the internal workings. Just from the outside, Martin next to Pecco Bagnaia next year. And Enea Bastianini, I'm not 100% sure. The dude's been okay, but not brilliant. So let's see. Whereas Marquez, I think, will get a works bike either if Pramac stay with Ducati, which I think they will. Either he'll end up on a works bike in Pramac or get a works bike in the Gresini team. The funny question is they've got like Vermeer, what's his name? I keep hearing his name wrong.
Ferdinand Aldegar.
There we
Ferdinand
go.
Aldegar. Yeah.
Why can't they all just be called Sam, for goodness sakes?
I love it, dude. Sam 1 and Sam, or Thing 1 and Thing 2. Yeah, let's go.
Let's call them Sam 1, Sam 2, all the way up to Sam 22. GP. Apparently he's coming to Ducati next year, and I have no idea where. I think Franco Morbidelli's ride is in huge jeopardy. The other one, I think, and no one's really talking about this, and I need to double check on his contract status. I don't know where it is, but Alex Marquez, he, especially with his brother doing so well, I mean, he's not exactly been a kind of shining light. He had a few good races, but how certain is it? People will say, but Marc Marquez, is his brother, this and that, but didn't stop Honda from kicking Alex Marquez out of the Repsol team. I mean, Marc Marquez is there to win, not a family man. So yeah, I think Alex is right. Might be a bit of jeopardy. It depends. Okay, again, he might have a contract for next year. We'll have to double check that. But Frankie, I think, is a spot to bother. He's not really performing. I think he's kind of, he's on his way out, which is a bit sad. I kind of like Frankie Morbidelli. He's like a hippie walking around. When he first moved to MotoGP and started doing well, there was that story where he needed to be at a press conference and no one could find him. And he wasn't answering his phone. And eventually they were all walking around and they found him at some cafe in the paddock, sitting with a bunch of people talking shit. And they went, Frankie, where are you? Oh, no, I've been here with my friends. Yeah, but we've been trying to phone you. Oh, my phone's off. And he's just so chilled out and laid back, and cool and groovy. And so it's kind of sad. You like Frankie Morbidelli is one of those guys you like it when he wins. It's like, yeah, good for him. Well done. And but I don't see him there for much longer. So maybe Enea Bastianini will move to one of those teams. I don't know. So I think it's going to be Martin and Bagnaia in the works team. Marquez on a factory bike next year, but not in the works team. That's what I think will happen. Pedro Costa will line up next to Binder. I think Jack Miller's going to end up on the gas, and I'm not 100% sure who's going to line up next to it. That's going to be interesting.
Absolutely right, and I agree with everything you said. But with me, I would say that, man, they don't want to get rid of Martin, but Marquez, yeah, you're right. One more crash, one more thing, it could be career ending. But I think as a whole picture standpoint, maybe if you did have Marquez just for 1 year on a factory bike in red, that would also help you sell more, motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. But the more I think about it, what you say is right. Jorge's a lot younger and he's absolutely devastating fast. The only thing is his mental game, right? Because Jorge will get there and then crash, right? To me, it seems like he let stuff get to him, kind of like Franco Morbidelli. He was really smooth when things are perfect. He was absolutely fast. As soon as something goes wrong, it's like Sete kind of when he gets something in his head, it's mental. It's so hard for him to climb out of that hole. He's doing very good. Yeah. I heard that Franco's maybe looking for a World Superbike ride, and I also heard that about Jerome Mir. I heard Mir's absolutely looking at World Superbike too, or retiring. That's just what I heard. I don't know how true that is. I would hate to see him retire.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know about that. I mean, the whole Honda thing and Yamaha thing, and I still believe that there's a combination of problems. I mean, the European brands are just, especially when it comes to aerodynamics and all that kind of thing, and rides and this new kind of technology, they've really taken the lead. I remember when GG first put wings on a Ducati. The guy Marquez was winning everything at the time. I think Dovizioso was the rider. And I remember the head of HRC, the guy heading up the Honda team at that stage, was a Japanese guy. And I remember him kind of laughing about it, saying, yeah, we tried that at Honda. It doesn't work. Waste of time. Forget about it. Look where they are now. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it, where they fell behind with this sort of new technology. I think the other problem is that the Japanese are not really looking at sports bikes anymore. I mean, the R1's on its way out. GSXR's on its way out. ZX10 I can't see for too much longer. Honda has the current Fireblade, which should be able to stick around for a while. But even that, I mean, that's not really their kind of main focus. But then again, internal combustion engines. I mean, we know one of the reasons Suzuki pulled out of MotoGP is because they're focusing on alternative energy, alternative motors, alternative all sorts of things, and remember that the MotoGP budget comes out of their R&D, not just marketing, it's R&D. So they need to spend their money on what will eventually reach their street bikes. And if the future is either, I don't know, hybrid or electric or something like that, why are we building these expensive petrol bikes? You know what I mean? So I think there is kind of the inherent problem. I don't think Honda and Yamaha have the backup they used to have. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I haven't audited their books or anything like that. But I do think that's a bit of a problem. They don't have the might. I mean, Honda back in the day, when one of the other manufacturers got a bit of an edge on something, they put everything into, closing that gap and getting the edge themselves. And I just don't see that happening these days. It just doesn't seem like they have that technical edge. And I wonder if it is that, more going on behind the scenes.
It very well could be, and also with the decline of sports bike, as you said, right? Nobody's going out buying 1000s. They don't even they're going to quit making the R1. Everything's going back. How fucking badass would it be to see a proper ZX, brand new 2027 ZX7RR, GSXR 750, YZF 750, OW07, right? Oh my God. Let's bring them back. 140 horsepower. Let's go. Right. But before we get into that, Donovan, I as far as MotoGP goes, man, it's what you said, right? Especially when Kawasaki done announced in World Superbike that they're using Bimoto, so it's going to be a Bimoto using a Kawasaki motor, right? So even that's changing, and MotoGP going to 850. But touching back real quick on what you said as far as Honda, they used to dominate back in the day, but now the Europeans are the lead, where the Japanese have fallen behind. But Japanese back in the day kicked the Europeans' asses all the time. The Kaviga, all of them, right? They won very occasionally. But now the tides has churned, right? And there's so much that goes behind the scenes on why that is happening, right? And sometimes I feel like I would hate to see more manufacturers come out of MotoGP. We need more coming in MotoGP, not coming out, right? Like BMW. I know you heard the rumor 2027 BMW is supposed to be coming.
That would be cool.
That would be proper badass. Let's go, right? And listen, this is my way of thinking. I think that when Toprak left Yamaha and took that BMW ride, I think behind the scenes BMW was like, look, we're going to MotoGP in 2027. You come to us, you do good, you're going to be on this MotoGP bike in 2027, right? I think all that lined up, and that was part of his move to BMW. That's just me personally talking, but that's how my brain thinks when I hear and I seen things like that. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, put two and two together. Now I get it. It's not so much of the money, because we all know Toprak wants to be a MotoGP. Let's just be honest, Yamaha never gave him a fair shot. They didn't on the MotoGP bike. They really didn't, right? But then again, you can't expect, Donovan, somebody coming from a soft chassis to a super stiff chassis and setting the world on fire in one-day test. It's just not going to happen.
Keep in mind, okay, Toprak is managed by Kenan Sofoglu. He's a sly fox, that guy.
Yes,
he
is.
He watches where the wind's blowing, and I do think, I mean, now even in World Superbikes, which kind of it sort of backs my argument that the Japanese aren't putting much into their sports bikes. Even now, you see, I mean, Ducati's dominating there too. The Japanese aren't doing as much as they used to do. And yeah, I think he just sort of saw where the wind is blowing and kind of said, well, we got to go over to European. By the way, I mean, Toprak winning on that BMW, I mean, that's similar to Rossi winning on a Yamaha. You know what I mean? No one thought that BMW could win. It was just not a race-winning machine. And especially now when we saw him at Essen, winning that race, I really thought that second Sunday race, I really thought no one's touching Bautista, and just Toprak pulled it out of the bag. And wow, just all little things. Like I thought, yeah, he'll be faster beginning, but the BMW loses traction and the rear tire will start going, and then the Ducati will come past, and that's going to be the end of it. And he held it together. I mean, this is either a great adaptation by the team. They managed to look at the data and figure out exactly how to make that bike last longer, or it's Toprak himself, probably a bit of both, going, okay, hang on, I'm not being able to keep up pace during the race, I've got to adjust and change the way I ride. And it's fascinating. It really is kind of fascinating. By the way, going back to Pedro, I believe there was a story about how he needed to change something, like the team would say to him, you need to concentrate on this. I think it had to do with the way he initially opens the throttle in a corner. He needs to work on that. So between races, he went and found ways of training that, like whether it's on the flat track or wherever it was, but he went and found a way to practice doing that and spent the whole time practicing doing whatever it is the team told him to do. And when he got back to the next race, he'd already mastered it, if you know what I mean. He'd already got it sorted. And a lot of that is, there's a lot of clever thinking going on there. And I think I'm pretty sure a lot of that is the same for Toprak. Climbing on this BMW, you've got to say to yourself, it's not just about making the bike work for me. I've got to work for this too. And it's just fascinating. The difference between the Saturday Superbike race and the Sunday Superbike race at Essen, the way it all kind of changed, the way they're adapting everything. It is utterly, utterly incredible. And I would say, yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting seeing Toprak going to MotoGP, but I fear he's going to be a little bit old at that stage.
Yeah.
And a bit like, back in the day, we had Cole Fogarty in World Superbikes. And I mean, if he had gone to MotoGP, then 500 Grand Prix and finished, even if he did pretty well, but I'd rather watch Cole Fogarty win races, World Superbikes, than watch him finish fourth in 500 Grand Prix. You know what I mean?
I do.
So I don't know. I think it'll be a bit of a loss for Toprak to go across to MotoGP, especially if it goes with a new manufacturer like BMW, if they do it. So it's going to take them 3-4 years to get up there, and that's going to be a bit sad. We should put Toprak, this really talented rider, stuff around at the back of the field with this. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, but I'm just really grateful. I mean, during the Jonathan radios, I didn't watch World Superbikes. It's a bit like Formula One right now. I'll go and look at the results. I want to see how much Verstappen won by. You know what I mean? That's pretty. It was a bit like with Jonathan Ray. You just, okay, I'll go look at the results. Okay, Ray won. Oh, only by 3 seconds. Wow, close race. But now I'm watching World Superbikes. You got Toprak, Bautista, and all these other guys in the mix. Ray doing pretty well on Yamaha again. It makes it exciting. I'm very thankful we've got people like Toprak in there. These exciting riders. Same with MotoGP. We've got a lot of exciting riders, and it's. Whew. I was talking about someone back in the day when we had the Doohan era, when Doohan was racing 500s. And I remember at that stage, I used to watch 125s because it was mad. The 125s were just mad. It was just 37 motorbikes all going for one corner. You know what I mean? Then there was a 250 race. That was usually pretty good. I actually saw Matt Oxley posted a thing on an old 250 race from in Germany in the mid-90s. Man, it was cool. And then it would be the Doohan show, and I wouldn't even watch the 500s. It was like, anyway, yeah, I'll come back for the end and just see what happens. You know what I mean? And it's so great. We got all these really, really fun riders. They're fun to watch, fun to kind of learn about them and the way the bikes work, the way everything works. It's just so exciting. I mean, who's winning at Catalunya this year? What's your Super Brew prediction? I have no idea. It's really guesswork. You're going to sit there. Who's going to win? I have no idea. Could be Marquez, could be Bagnaia, could be Martin, could be one of the Vinales might get that Aprilia right again. Maybe Binder. Maybe this is maybe this is when Acosta finally takes his first win. I have no idea. How cool is that? That I have no idea. You have no idea. Nobody has any idea who's going to win this weekend. That is so cool.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. It is. It's, and that's what I'm saying. That's why our sport's getting more attention, right? Because nobody knows who anybody could win. Honestly, anybody could actually win.
I mean, it's like watching an episode of Game of Thrones. Remember, you sit there going, which character is going to be killed off this time? You have no idea.
Yes. Dude, Game of Thrones was so fucking proper too, man. It was such a great series, but you're right. It's like,
and you have no idea whatever the sort of traditional storylines with Game of Thrones. You have no idea. And it's Superbikes is now the same. MotoGP is the same. It's so cool. We're living in such a great period now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but man, we've got to enjoy this. We really have to appreciate this while we have it.
100% right. And then also we got Andrea Iannone back, right? I mean, we got to talk about him for a minute. Dude, how proper was his comeback?
Yes. But you know what I love about Iannone, and I remember Matt Oxley kind of put it into words very well. You get these riders, and they're badasses. They'll go out on track and they will smash into other riders and they will be super aggressive. But then off the track, they put on their PR face, they smile, and yes, I like to thank my sponsors. I like to do this, but Iannone's never like that. What you see is what you get. And he'll walk, and he's like, well, why did you bash that rider off? Well, I wanted to hit, so I hit him. Of course I hit him, And there was other things, like I remember when he moved, I can't remember the manufacturer. I think it was when he moved to Aprilia, and he was still under contract for, I think it was Suzuka. Anyway, it was two different manufacturers. I remember he got to test at Valencia, but the rule was he wasn't allowed to speak about the bike. That was the ruling. And two things happened. First of all, he put up a photo of himself out at a party somewhere the night before the test. And that morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, there was footage of him walking into the back of the pits wearing the same outfit. He'd come right from the party or wherever it was, straight to the test. He did the test on whichever the new manufacturer was. I think it was Aprilia. I could be mistaken. And afterwards, he went out back. All these reporters came along. Hey, what's it like? And he's like, no problem. Here's the full rundown. And he was just like, poof. So no, he's a bad boy. He's a bad, he's a badass. But he's unashamedly badass. You know what I mean? And it's, you kind of find it a bit when you got these riders who are badasses, but then try and pretend to be these really nice guys. No, I love the fact that he's so honest. He's an honest rider. This is me. Hey, this is how I am. It is very cool. It does remind me of Superbikes in the 90s. Do you remember some of those riders? I mean, they were hard men. No PR faces. And you get things like on the slowdown lap, two riders would lay their bikes down and start pushing each other on the track, and all of this, and hard men, proper hard, honest men. And you don't get as much of that these days. I think someone's calling you.
What? I said we're going to get pedicures at 3:30.
Okay.
I'm going to take a shower.
Okay. I love you.
Love you. Bye.
All right. My wife said we're going to get pedicures at 3:30. I said, okay. So she's got plans today. Do what?
That was also very sweet, by the way. You seem like you have one of these very sweet families.
I do, man. It's an absolute honor in this lifetime to be in the position and knowing all these friends, and man, it's been I couldn't have dreamed of a better script for me for sure. It's yes, I love my family and all my friends, you included. Absolutely. It's and I love sitting down doing this, man. This is what I love to do, is right here what we're doing now. But you're right. It's so exciting what we got coming up in MotoGP. Nobody knows who's going to win, and nobody really knows who's going to go where, especially with the rumor mill with Alicia Spargo might retire, right, or be a test rider for Aprilia. Honestly, I don't know if Aprilia really wants to keep Maverick. I mean, that's just me personally. I really don't know if he's a light switch, but it's always down most of the time, right? Man, I don't know. There's just so much that could happen, you know. And then we hear the rumors Joe Roberts might go to Trackhouse, but to me, it's like I would love to see an American in MotoGP. We got an American team. Yes, we need an American, but Joe Roberts done turned down Aprilia once, right? So if he does get the opportunity, I hope he jumps on it. I would love to see it. I'm just not sure how well he would do in MotoGP. It's such a huge step for Moto2. I mean, it's a whole other planet.
How old is Joe Roberts now?
I want to say he's 24.
Maybe. If you'd said 28, I would go, oh, okay, that's going to be tough. But he's still kind of young. I mean, it was the same when Darren Binder got the offer to go straight to MotoGP at the MR team, and everybody was losing. I'm going, oh, what is this? What is this? And we were just like, dude, do it. Just do it. You know what I mean? Just do it.
And he did good.
But just do it. You know what I mean? I would also love, by the way, I've always said I really want to see Americans winning MotoGP races for the very good reason that whenever an American wins MotoGP, we get a really cool documentary. Hey, Americans can do documentaries. You guys are good at it. You guys know how to do your documentaries. So I want to see another cool MotoGP documentary. And for that to happen, we need Americans to win. So come on, guys. Hurry up and win stuff and hurry up and make us cool documentaries, okay?
Let's go. Yes.
One of my favorite documentaries, remember the movie, it was Foster, I think it was, or Fost. Back in the day, it featured John Hopkins and Rossi. And that was so cool. I mean, you can go further back than that, On Any Sunday, which I'm sure you've seen also. It was On Any Sunday. It was so cool. I want to see more shit like that. I want to see that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So come on, Americans. Hey, about winning stuff. We want our cool documentaries, okay?
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, you're right. Dude, Ray Hindi, I don't know why I don't have some of these comments popping up on here, but I got them popping up on my phone. Ray Hindi, he's actually watching. Yeah, Ray's absolutely amazing. He told me happy birthday. Thank you, Ray. Absolutely, thank you. Actually, a lot of people did, and thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. But what Ray Hindi did say is Hopper rates Roberts fucking high, and he does. Roberts, I mean, yeah, John Hopkins does rate Joe Roberts very high, and I think Joe would do good. I want to see him. Like you said, dude, we need Americans in there, right? And we got, and obviously you guys know I'm a huge fan of South Africa too. Cam Peterson, dude, Matty Skoltz. It's awesome to see those guys. And Matty Skoltz on a 600 this year. I honestly thought, Donovan, I was like, this ain't good. Like, you've been on a super bike for 10 years going to 600. It's such a different riding style, but he's doing really well. So I'm glad to see him thriving, which is awesome. Which Moto Americas this weekend, which when we get off here, Donovan, I need you to stay on with me because I have something that I want to share with you that you can watch Moto America. You can watch all the races and all that 2024 season.
Cool. That'll be cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so you can sit down and catch up and all that good stuff. But yes, dude, listen, MotoGP is so exciting. Nobody knows. One thing I will say, Pecco Bagnaia is not going to retain the title this year. Absolutely not. I don't think that. What do you think? Let me ask you this. What do you think, Donovan?
I think Pecco's been in worse. His first championship he won, remember, was mostly against sort of Quartararo, and Pecco was far further behind than he is now. And we've seen this a few times. We saw it last year also, where he had bad races, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is it. This is it." Pecco is tough. Pecco is tougher than we let on to believe.
Yeah,
that dude here, he is super tough. He's super clever. He figures it out, and I wouldn't say he's definitely not winning. I mean, they are Marquez and they are Martin, and they are strong, but Pecco is also strong. Look at Perez. He had Marquez, the most aggressive and intimidating rider in the world that has ever been. And Bagnaia went toe-to-toe with him and was just like, no. So Lamar had a bit of a bad race. He's had one or two crashes that have not been cool. But you know what? You have bad races sometimes. But when Pecco has a good race, he has a very good race. We saw it in Jerez, and it's very quickly after Lamar to forget Jerez. Jerez was just before Lamar, and everybody was going, wow, Bagnaia. And now he's had one bad race, and who knows? We could see him win again in Catalonia. I don't think he's definitely out. I think he's still very much in there. He's still very capable. It's going to be, I think this year will be a bit tougher for him than the last 2 years. It's going to be more of an ask for him. But I still think he can do it. He can do it.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is the competition it's different this year. The energy is different. The vibe is different than it has been the past 2 years, right? Yeah. Pecco could absolutely still win the title. I think part of me just wants to see somebody else. Like I like the underdogs, right? I'm an underdog guy, right? So I want to see Jorge Martin. I want to see one of the first riders in history win on a non-factory bike, right? That's what I want to see. What stories would that bring? What documentaries will we get off of that, right? What a dream.
Seriously. He's not American. It's not going to be that good.
Well, true. Facts. This is a fact. But,
genuinely, sorry, I'm gonna get back to the documentary part. There was that documentary on Amazon Prime that they did. I think it was 2 years ago. It wasn't great, and it was some European team put it together, and it, the difference is like they had that the Formula One documentary got all these non-Formula One fans into Formula One, whereas that documentary didn't. I mean, I got a friend of mine who's very technically minded, big Formula One fan, and I said to him, try and watch this show. Let me know what you think. He was like 3 episodes. He's like, dude, what the hell is going on? It's like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what they're doing. And, I'm sure it's all very, but I don't know. They had no introduction. They didn't build the characters. They just did nothing. It was just, well, here's this guy at home feeding his dog. Who is he? Pecco, big, what? You know what I mean? It was just, There was no story, no build-up. And that's what you guys do well. You guys know how to tell a story. Americans know how to tell a story. So you guys need to do a really cool documentary. Put MotoGP. Go and tell all your American friends, all the Americans watching, go tell all your friends. Come on, get a few producers in there. Make a cool MotoGP documentary. Whether it's about Bagnaia, whether it's about Marquez, whether it's about Joe Roberts, Martin winning on. Come on, you guys get it. Someone go nudge Liberty Media in the ribs and say, get on with it.
Let's go. I'm with it, dude. Yes, I'm with it. And you know what? We should also imply your help too. So if we can make this happen, you're going to be part of it too in the journey, Donovan. Dude, how awesome would that be, right? That would be cool to actually sit down and do a whole documentary, man. Yeah, that'd be really cool. It would be. But the year in racing is just, it's not even that. I mean, we barely even talked on World Superbike, much less BSB. In BSB, there's been a lot of changes going on in BSB too as well, right? You had my man Birdwell left PBM, which took the number 1 plate to Honda. Glenn Irvin is the only rider on PBM Ducati this year. We got Ryan Vickers, which is just absolutely amazing. Peter Hickman stayed with BMW. Josh Brooks is on. Brooksy is still with BMW. Jason O'Halloran's on Kawasaki now. Man, there's so many changes that's been going on in BSB, and it's exciting. Matter of fact, there's a race this weekend. Races this weekend in BSB. And I tell everybody, Bennett'sBritishSuperbike.com. You can watch them all for free. And that's another thing that I love about BSB right there, right? But dude, it is. We do need to come up with a new documentary in MotoGP. And I said that, and I'm with you on that, because when they come out with it, I was so excited. Yes, they're coming out with a MotoGP documentary, but I guess you included our expectations were so high because how good Drive to Survival is, right? And then we see it in the original one that I seen, the first episode, they had dubbed voices. So it wasn't even Fabio talking, it was somebody else talking in Fabio's place. And I was like, absolutely not. It was horrible. And then they redid it where they had the other voices in it, and it was still, there was no path. There was no story. It was just
storyline to it.
So
again, I mean, the number one, I mean, I've got a friend of mine, he's a script writer, and he told me a lot, especially with the TV show. And one of the things he always told me about script writing, it's very just sensible. It's like, take a situation, make it bad, then make it more bad, and then make it even worse to the point where it cannot possibly be any return from this, not at all, and then make it return. And that's just the whole of Hollywood. There it is. I mean, think of any good Hollywood movie. That's a script, and it needs to have something like that. It needs to have that kind of thing. And the MotoGP doc just didn't have any of that. It was just there's people feeding their dogs. And I mean, you and I could watch it, and we know who these people are, and we find it kind of interesting. But the whole idea to try and bring this sort of opportunity to bring all these Amazon Prime viewers into MotoGP, completely lost. Because, again, as I say, my friend, very clever, very clued up technically, loves Formula One, rides bikes, likes bikes. In fact, right now, he's busy rebuilding his Prime 675. Anyway, he dropped the valve. Dumbass.
Oh, no.
Anyway, but yeah, he watched it. He was just like, I'm watching some dude feed his dog, and who is this guy? I know he's a rider, but what does he do? Where is he from? I just never got that. You know what I mean? So come on, America, make a cool documentary. Come on, you guys.
Yes, let's go. Right. We also need to. Right. And we need to also hire Gray Fam. I know you watch some Gray Fam videos. We need him to help us out with this documentary, because what he does too is absolutely amazing. The way he films it. It's just like, I got a lot of my friends, they do professional photography, and there's those pictures you see that just grabs you by the balls and draws you in. You're like, oh my God, what such a beautiful picture this is, right? That's what we need as far as a documentary for MotoGP, a storyline. Because it was just utter bullshit. It was just, I don't even see why they released it. I bet you they regret doing that for sure. But touching back on real quick on MotoGP, man, is dude, Digi was almost out of a seat last year. Got with VR46, and he's kicking Bezzecchi's ass all year long, right? I don't think Bezzecchi's getting along well with the newer bike, whatever it is. Where DG's doing really, man, he's looking really, really good,
Yeah. If you remember last year, some of the factory riders, I think Pecco and them also kind of undernod at the beginning of the year with the 2023 bike. So that bike, I think it is a bit of an adjustment from the 2022 to 2023 we saw it last year, but they did come to terms with it. Then again, they had the whole factory behind them adjusting it, I wonder if they don't have quite that same support. By the way, there was a bit of a joke meme. It was Marquez riding a VR46 Ducati with a 93.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah.
See, we're not seeing that. That's definitely not happening. But yeah, I mean, Digi is, he just is. He seems to have kind of bonded with the team very well. And it's an all Italian team. They've all got Rossi's support. They've got everything behind them, and it's just. Although I kind of wish we'd see them kind of a bit higher, Although we did. I mean, where was which one of them was up at Le Mans? They were doing very well, but kept falling off. It was Bezzecchi, wasn't it? Or was it?
Yeah, Digi? It was Bezzecchi, because Bezzecchi crashed out. Digi actually finished?
Yeah, it was Bezzecchi. Yeah, it was Bezzecchi. But Bezzecchi looked good there. I mean, he sort of screwed it up a little bit. Especially when you consider they're on the same bike as Marc Marquez, and they were very much the similar pace to Marquez. Although they did, they all for nothing, but they were holding the same sort of pace Marquez was running. And, that says a lot. That shows the guys are competitive. They just need to keep it together.
They do. And if I'm not mistaken, the rumor mill also is that it's not Grassini, but Primax gonna go to Yamaha. If I got that right, isn't that the rumor going around?
The only way I can think that would happen is there's huge financial gain for Pramac. I mean, come on, really? You want to sell your Ford Mustang and buy a Hyundai? Really?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, if Yamaha's got to give them an offer they can't refuse, that's the only way I see that happening. It's got to be only for financial considerations. There's no ways that unless there's something grand, unless Yamaha next year is coming up with a super duper supercharged V12, I don't know, something ridiculous. And no, I don't see that happening. Unless, again, it has to be unless Ducati is going to charge them an arm and a leg, and Yamaha is saying, "Yeah, we'll pay you to ride our motorbikes." That's the only way I can see that happen.
Yeah, yeah. When I heard the rumor mill, I'm like, especially I heard that first, and I was like, we do need another Yamaha team. I think every manufacturer should have a factory and a satellite team. I do agree with that. I don't agree with Carmelo letting Ducati have 8 bikes, because that's just a huge advantage Ducati has, because you got such a wide variety of technical data ranging from, it's unfair. But what I can't see is when they come out and was like, hey, in 2027 we're going to 850s, and I'm like, well, if I'm in a manufacturer, especially Yamaha or Honda, we're in shit. It's already millions and millions of dollars we're spending just to be here. Why do I want to spend millions and millions of more dollars just trying to get my bike competitive for the next year and a half, when right now as we speak they're probably already developing the new 850 right now as we speak? 100% guaranteed. A lot of the manufacturers got some of it going on. They gotta be, especially if they want to be competitive right out the box, right? So it's
that's an interesting point you bring up. And remember, I said that the biggest problem I find with the Japanese is that the way MotoGP is right now is not consistent with the future. So the R&D, it just doesn't make. There's not a lot of return on investment for them to be working on these internal combustion motors, unless in 2027 they're moving across to full biofuel, if you remember. So it's all so that might entice the Japanese a lot more, and it's very likely, like as you say, they're not putting that much effort into the bikes now because they're putting in a lot of effort for 2027, because that maybe works. But I mean, I don't know how far biofuel is going. I think we're more looking at going electric, hybrid, hydrogen, those sort of things. You know what I mean? I can't. Then again, the future is so uncertain. But who knows? Maybe we'll see the Japanese make a comeback in 2027. Maybe that's what they're building for. In which case, I kind of wish it was 2025, not 2027. But it'll be interesting. And the whole kind of idea about how they're going to 850s, but not screwing up like when they did with the 800s previously. And the whole idea of how they're using a smaller bore, long stroke, which counteracts that whole kind of thing. Getting rid of the ride-out devices, brilliant. Bowl means lessening the amount of wings. But you remember that Dorna doesn't make the rules. People get it wrong. And I mean, in South Africa when they said that what are they called again? Sorry, it's been a long day. The group taking over MotoGP now, the American group.
Oh, Trackhouse.
No, not Trackhouse.
No.
Liberty Media.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
Liberty Media. It's been a long day. Sorry, everyone. So now they were saying Liberty Media is taking over. Oh, it's going to end up like Formula One, and look how boring Formula One. Yeah, but Liberty Media and Dorna do not make the rules. I mean, they get a kind of say in what they want, but essentially it's the manufacturers, FIM, IRTA, they make the rules. So, yeah, I mean, it's all kind of so interesting. So you got to remember that they got to work on a fine line here, because you've got manufacturers like Ducati who have put millions and millions and millions in all this aero technology and all of that, and now you're just going to arrive and say, right, everybody, scrap all of it. Ducati's going to say no. All these other guys are going to say no. So they've got to sort of draw this fine line. Like, we need more competitive racing. So we don't want to get rid of everything you've done. I mean, all that investment you put into it, you need to kind of make sure you still have that investment, but at the same time make it more interesting, more of a show, as you put it that way. And I mean, getting rid of ride-off devices, that's brilliant. I don't think it makes better racing. I wish they put them on road bikes, because I'm quite a short guy. I'd love it if my bike lowered and I don't fall over so much. That would be cool. We need that on road bikes. But getting rid of that, but then lessening the error. People are saying get rid of it. You can't. You really cannot do that. Those teams have spent so much money, put so much time and everything. I mean, no, the teams will just not allow that. You'll see Ducati, all these guys will just say, right, well, that's it, we're out. Goodbye. So they need to kind of draw that fine line, and I think they're doing it. They're doing it pretty well. And it'll be interesting to see the 850s will have longer strokes, smaller balls. That means more torque, which should kind of still make it interesting. And then no ride-out devices means more overtaking, less aero, not totally do away with it, but a bit less, should make better also. Plus also next year, if I'm not mistaken, Michelin's bringing out a new front tire, which is going to better cope with all the heating. And we saw it, Marquez at Le Mans was able to catch up from miles back to the top two riders, and then he struggled to overtake, which is just, that's how it is now. You get behind the other riders, your front tire overheats, and then, then you go nowhere.
Yeah,
and so I think Michelin is going to sort that out a bit, and then these new rules are going to make it even better. So it's all very exciting.
Dude, it is. What a great time to be like. Also, Pirelli's coming in. It's not going to be Michelin. We have Pirelli in 2027, correct?
Yeah.
Isn't Pirelli going to be the tire manufacturer in MotoGP in 2027?
I didn't read that. Are you sure?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm kind of. This is me kind of assuming, since Moto 2 and Moto 3's already did it. How awesome would it be to see?
Then again, Moto 3 and Moto 2 were Dunlop. MotoGP was previously Bridgestone, and then MotoGP's never been Dunlop. So maybe I don't think Michelin's going to let that up. I don't think that's true, especially if they bring out a new tire in 2025. So lots of fun.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know. We'll see, but I think it would bring interesting. I'd love to see the tire wars.
Somebody
come back,
behind you right now.
Yeah.
Oh, your door's opening.
It's probably let my dog in. Oh no, yeah. She let my dog in. My dog is right. I got
dog? You can't say you have a dog in the. Oh, hello,
Charlie.
Hello.
Yeah, she's a female dude. She's old. But she's awesome. I got I had 2 pit bulls. I just recently had to put one down.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I love animals, dude. They're awesome. But she's my sidekick. She goes with me pretty much everywhere I go. Like when we get done with this and I get up and leave the room, she's behind me. If I go to the bathroom, she's there. If I go in the kitchen, she's there. So she follows me around. But she's absolutely amazing. But dude, back for go ahead, Donovan. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. I was just gonna say I got an English bulldog and an American bully.
I love them, dude. Dude, dogs are so amazing, man. It's like, I love them, dude. I just couldn't live it. I couldn't imagine my life without a dog. I feel like if I don't have one, I'm not complete. Like spiritually, I need it.
What's really interesting, we'll get back to motorbikes in a second. Important stuff like dogs now. The American Bully, which is supposed to be the most vicious dog in the world. We got it from a breeder friend of ours who's a member of the Hells Angels. So we bought the most vicious dog in the world from a Hells Angel. And you know what? She's the biggest teddy bear ever. This dude, he's a hell of a nice guy. He breeds these dogs. And all the dogs he breeds are the most, they're big, strong, healthy, but the most cuddliest, sweetest little dogs ever. There's just not a hint of aggression in this dog. And meantime, but then when a burglar walks past, they go past our gate, there's this massive muscle-bound American bully. They go, yeah, I'm going to go next door, rather.
Right. I'm not coming into Fourie's house. I'm going next door. No. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Motorbikes.
But you're right. Real quick on motorbikes. So, dude, I would love to see Pirelli in MotoGP, right? And so, real quick, going back on what we were talking about, locking up the brakes. Yes, if me and you went out here and we locked up a brake, we're going to shit our pants and we're going down. It's what it is. But let me ask you this, Donovan. Since they lock up their brakes so much, the MotoGP riders, because they're so talented and they're so good, do you think that they set up their bikes for their front brakes locking up and the way the bike feels that because they do it so much during the lap? Do you think that's part of their setup of the bike? To get the best out of the tires?
I don't think it's necessarily kind of inherent in what they're trying to do in their goals. It does remind me of, remember beginning of last year, remember I said the Ducati riders struggled a bit. It was Pecco crashed at Kota. And he made that famous comment that everybody gave him hell for, where he said the bike is too good. And yes. I actually, you know what, and people gave him hell for that, but I kind of feel it, and I think I understand what he meant. I think a lot of it is kind of lost in Australia, in Australia, is lost in translation. Because remember, I mean, he's Italian, and I think what he's trying to say is that the bike is so stable that it doesn't kind of warn you when it's going to let go. So you don't know. And remember, MotoGP riders work on feel. You lean the bike until you feel it's going to go. And that's the way you do it. And watch them carefully when they're on a hard lap. Watch them turn into corner. Watch the front wheels. And you will see they get to a point where the front is just, and then they hold it there. They'll lean in, they get to that point where the front is like, okay, we're gonna, and then they catch it there. That is the way they ride. That is how good these guys are. And the problem, what I think Pecco was trying to say, is the bike is not giving him that feeling. You lean until you're waiting for that moment, and next thing you're on the floor. If you understand my meaning.
I do.
So I don't think they're specifically trying to set up, but they want feeling. They want to be warned that, okay, here comes the front. It's locking. I can now, make adjustments, or when I'm in the corner, I can make adjustments. You want that feel. I remember Rossi, when he was at Caddy 2011, 2012, he had a similar problem where he just said, you go into a corner and then next thing you're on the floor. You kind of go, well, how did that happen? Know what I mean?
I do.
Reminded you.
Come on, Charlie, let's go. Alice here, and we gotta leave by 3:10 at the latest.
All right.
So make it.
All right, babe. Charlie, you going out? No.
Come on.
All right. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, dude. Yes. Listen, dude. Listen. I will. I had a couple of my friends actually show up, so yeah, we're gonna have to end this here in a few minutes. Donovan, listen, I got your number. I'll text you. Let's sit down and do this, because there's so much more we've got to talk about. I mean, you can go on. I already know. You can go on for hours and hours and hours and talk nothing.
We've been here for an hour and 36 minutes. It feels like 15 minutes. I don't know about the people at home. Sorry about that.
No, it is, but that's the good time we have and the vibes we have with each other. It's such an honor to sit down and do this, man. So, but before we get off here, I'm going to ask you just a couple of the questions. I'm not going to go through the whole list, because that'll be another 30 minutes. And obviously, I don't have the time, because my wife's back here like, right? So
quit playing with your silly friends.
right. Get off the podcast, quit playing with your friends, and come out here. Yeah. So
we got company.
She knows me all too well. She does, and I love her very much. So you know what? I just want to ask you. I'm just going to pick 3 questions just to ask you, and then we'll end the podcast and we'll pick it back up. Tell us something we don't know about you at all, Donovan.
Well, I told you I have an American bully. That was kind of fun. I also have 8 cats. I'll tell you what, okay, we live, I'll explain why, is we live pretty much in a farm. Sort of, it's about an hour and a half outside of Johannesburg. And there's a ton of stray cats in the area. And occasionally we just, somewhere outside the house, you hear this meep, meep, and you go out there and there's a stray kitten sitting in the bush. What do you do? You can't leave it there. You pick it up, you take it in the house, you find it some food, and got another bloody cat. You know what I mean? And so we ended up starting off with like 1 or 2. We've now ended up with 8 of the bloody things.
You sound like me, man. Dude, if I had the money, I would buy 500 acres and I'd go to every shelter there is, animal shelter, and adopt every cat, dog, mouse, rat, whatever they have, bring it home. I want to love on every single one of them, give them all names, and just love them every day. I'm with you 110%, man. But listen, I better get off here before my wife comes back in here, and this time she comes in with a knife and gets to stab it, right? No, because I want to continue to do this for all you guys. But listen, awesome. Before I get off here, I just got to tell everybody nothing but love and appreciation for all you guys. Thank you, everybody, for all the birthday wishes. This episode will be out on Spotify tomorrow. Me and Donovan got so much to talk about. You guys stay tuned, because I'm going to get with him, and we're going to make this happen probably fairly quick. Within the next couple of weekends, me and you need to sit back down and continue this. So, Donovan,
I'll find my Indian shirt. I could go even more American. My next time I've got a shirt that says Indian. This is my Harley. Next time it's my Indian shirt. Okay,
dude, proper. I love it. Donovan, absolute honor to have you on, mate. Dude, I can't wait to sit down and do it again, man. And I appreciate it.
Hey, you too, man. Thank you for everything.
Dude, no, thank you for everything. It's an absolute honor. And listen, guys, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and end this, and we will see you next time. All right, Donovan.